From the Woodshed, a casual conversation with Chase Morrill and Ryan Eldridge from Kennebec Cabin Company, the team that inspired the hit show Maine Cabin Masters. From the Woodshed is brought to you by Nelma. See the stamp, trust the quality. By Hero Media Arts, connecting small business with new customers. And by Hammond Lumber, your building project partner. Now, from the Woodshed Studios at KCC headquarters in Manchester, Maine, it's Chase and Ryan.
From the Woodshed, I'm Chase Morrill. With me, as always, is Ryan Eldridge.
Hi, guys.
Maggie Morrill.
Hi.
And a special addition today, Fletcher Morrill.
Hi, Fletch.
He's here to help us interview our guest, Zachary Fowler from Alone, Season 3 winner.
Big winner.
Yeah.
And you and Fletch love that show. You're always talking about it. That's awesome.
Absolutely. This will be a good one. You can find us at KennebeCCabinCompany.com, MaineCabinMasters.com, our Facebook page, Instagram page, YouTube. You check out our store for cool merchandise at shop.KennebeCCabinCompany.com. We always want to thank our sponsors, Nelma, Nelma.org, EasternWhitePine.org, SprucePineFur.org, and Hero Media Arts, Hammond Lumber Company, the official building material supplier of Kennebec Cabin Company.
Nice job. I was hoping Fletch would just take my seat and give me the day off. Not so much, huh?
No.
That's pretty cool. He lives in Maine now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's lives down on the coast. He came here, started wooden boat building, and just took his skills and ran with them.
And loved it.
Absolutely. And Fletcher and I do have a lot of questions for him.
Nice.
Yep. We've gone through all the Alone seasons. Now we're on to a new.
Which one was the most challenging, do you think? What area?
Up in the
But no one can hear you.
up in Canada.
What's the island called?
Vancouver.
Up near Vancouver Island.
Yep. They went to Mongolia one season.
And the premise of the show is they all get dropped, 10 contestants get dropped off, and it can go for, how long was this season on History Channel? How many episodes, you guys remember?
I think typical 10 or 12. But, yeah, he went 80-something days. I couldn't even handle
90 days to get 10 episodes? Man, they're making us look bad. Wait. We might get 3 or 4 episodes in 90 days.
Yeah, everything's going well. Spring is definitely around the corner.
So close. You know what I read yesterday?
What's that?
After no more, the sun will not set before 6 p.m. now until November.
Nice. Very nice.
Oh,
Exciting.
I can get behind that.
I can't.
And you can feel the sun down your face.
Yep.
It's now all about the wind. If it's windy, it can still be cold.
Yeah. No, I've seen people. We've got to start tapping our trees. People are starting to put their tap lines out.
Oh, we're doing
Getting ready.
that?
Of course we are.
We didn't do it last year.
Now the pandemic kind of.
Chase. No excuses. That's a bad excuse.
No one, everyone's.
Why? Everybody else.
Nope.
Tell us a real excuse. Something's going on here.
No idea. Nope. Other bad excuse.
Yes, we went on vacation
Bad
right
excuse. Nope.
Well, I think your dad can make up for it. Tap twice as many trees this year.
The real reason is because we had so much syrup, we didn't need to make more.
Oh, speaking of that, we had a
These are terrible
syrup
excuses.
mishap. So on my
What's a
new
syrup mishap?
So on my new eat healthy thing, I take my
God,
oatmeal
gosh.
every morning,
Oh, God.
and I had a jar of your LR19 syrup,
Yeah.
and I pour a little bit in, because I want a little sweetener. And after a week or two, it was in the morning I couldn't open it up, and it was frustrating me. So I went and found it, and I talked to Ashley about this. I'm like, I got to find a container. So I went and found one of those containers that, they shake it with a shake and it has a top. But anyways,
Yeah.
it's like Tupperware.
Yeah.
Put it in that, and I keep it out on the counter next to all our olive oils
no.
and stuff. Sure enough, a week ago, pours it out, and then I get in trouble. I'm like, that's $100 of maple syrup. What the heck?
Oh, she thought it was just
Yeah.
an old shake or
Yeah.
something?
So
Well.
if you have any anywhere, I'd like some more.
We'll have plenty new stuff coming up very soon.
And we talked.
We also still have 50 gallons.
No, we
No,
don't.
we don't,
What are you holding
Fletcher.
out for? Hey, Fletch, we need to talk after this, guy.
Fletcher, do you know how
Trade.
much a gallon is?
We don't have that much, but you can always get Aunt Gladys's.
We saw that right at the store, right?
Yep, and she burns a lot of our scrap wood to keep that going.
How many trees do you guys tap on your property?
Let me count them all. I have no idea.
Have you named them?
Over about 30.
Now, we talked about possibly broiling some sap here on site.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Is that a thing, or is that?
Yeah, Maple Syrup Sunday is the last Saturday of the month of March. I think the 27th or 28th.
So we'd
this
bring
year.
down your evaporator. And cook
Yeah,
away?
you know, a small sample one or something. Yeah, for sure.
And if I bring scoops of snow, you'll put maple syrup on it.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
So we got some cool news regarding our Hero Media Arts videos. Dean and the crew at Hero Media Arts are now launching the Hero Media Network. So it's going to be all these cool videos in one spot you can find online. And they're really going to try to get more people on there. So anyone can be a hero if you want your story told. Go to HeroMediaNetwork.com and all the information will be here. And here's our friend Dean to tell you guys more.
Hi, I'm Dean from Hero Media Arts. We've enjoyed sharing our hero videos every week on From the Woodshed, and I'm excited to announce an expanded new venture called the Hero Media Network. We've gathered all of our heroes in one place, on a platform that highlights inspired small businesses and artists, telling authentic stories that make a real emotional connection with fans and new potential customers. Hero Media Network combines the essential marketing tools of compelling video and targeted social media into a unique opportunity to share your inspiration with an online audience. Your permanent profile page, where you can place your message and other web links, becomes even more valuable over time as new visitors discover your work and your story. Beyond the business value, we believe the Hero Network is a place where we can really see our neighbors, a kind of digital Main Street that conveys an authenticity that we're all searching for these days. Visit HeroMediaNetwork.com to see how we can help grow your business and to meet some of the dedicated, hardworking people in our communities. Thanks.
All right, we are back, and our guest today is Fowler, most famously known so far from Alone season winner. Season 3. Fletcher and I are big fans, so welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
How's it going today?
Oh, it's great. Beautiful day in Maine.
Now, this is sections brought by Baxter Brewing. So Chase and I are going to enjoy a nice howl together, Pilsner. Normally, if you were in the studio with us, we'd have one with you, but cheers. This is for you, and thank you for your time.
It's not really quite fair.
That's okay. I'm all good with my coffee.
Perfect. We'll get you up here sometime soon. So let's start with Alone. Season 3, you were the winner.
Yep.
You're out there for
87 days, right?
87 days.
Wow.
87. That's a long time.
Now, for our fans that don't know, Alone is a series on history.
History.
On History Channel.
Yep.
And the premise is, give us a little background on what the show's about.
Okay, so the whole point is, unlike other survival shows, you actually are alone. There's no camera crew. So they drop you off, and you got like a giant Pelican case with 4 cameras in it, 2 GoPros, a bigger filming kind of camera, and another like a little mildly waterproof one. And you got to film yourself while you survive, and you're the one of 10 people that are picked for the show. And you go out there and you spend as long as you can surviving with just your 10 items that you pick. And that's all you get for the whole time. They come out in every couple weeks and check on you, make sure you're not insane. And you have radio equipment that you can radio in. You have to radio in every day, a little message, just a little push in a type in message every morning and every evening. You know, and they cue it and you check in and say, checking in, all fine. And if you push that red button you have to flip up at the bottom of that thing, you're going home and you lose.
So don't do that by mistake.
There's no second place prize. There is only a first place prize.
Wow.
And you were down in Patagonia.
Yep. Yeah. So they bring us in and they flew us in like up and over the glaciers into a glacial lake. And it was hardcore.
Yeah. Now, tell us about your background. What got you into the medical and physical shape that you were ready to apply for the show and do such a good job?
I had moved up to Maine when I was 21 to build wooden boats at Rockport Marine. I built the schooner Lynx, and I kind of fell in love with the area, and I was like, I'll stick around, and bought some land up in Appleton and just built myself kind of an off-grid situation, living in a camper like a single guy for the longest time, and just loving it. I would go out, and the thing that got me into the stuff for the show was kind of revisiting things that my dad had taught me as a kid and taking it a bit further by going out on Saturdays and and finding books at garage sales. And then I'd come home and I'd spend the rest of the weekend going out and like foraging for mushrooms to put on my pizza, or foraging for wild plants that I could replant into my garden and have my garden be like half wild, perennial garden from nature, and being able to make salad from stuff in the woods. Or once I did start growing a garden, I was like learning how to use the primitive traps in the old books so that I could catch the woodchuck that was eating my cabbages. And when the TV show finally came on, at that point I had gotten married, and we had built a little yurt up there and attached it to the camper, and we were living pretty rough. But I was watching shows like Naked and Afraid, and I would sit there just like any good couch critic and be like, I could do that. I could do that.
That's one show I've never said I could do.
Yeah. And I could. So it's like watching all those shows, and then Alone came on, and I was like, you get 10 items. I use less than that to go and build our goat pens and and do my gardening and build all kinds of crazy stuff around here. And we drag our stuff up into the woods during the winter. There's no driveway. I have didn't even have a snowmobile until the last year I lived up there. Yeah. And it's like I drag everything up on my back for like 15 years. Wow. So I was like, I figured this would just be like going and living in a new place for me, minus the fact that I had to take care of, 3 other mouths to feed, Sure. So it was like, I was like, all right, I could do that. But I said I could do that one too many times. And the wife got sick of hearing it and said, I dare you. And so she brought up the application for it. And I was like, this is a ridiculous application. And I'm like, well, when they're looking for the people for the show, I've noticed like a trending thing, right? They're looking for the village people, Yeah. They want
well, diversity.
Yeah, they want the fireman, the school teacher, and so I said, okay, what do I have? What's my villager look like? And I said, all I sent is like one line. I'm a ginger bearded wooden boat builder that lives in a yurt and shoots slingshots in Maine. And they said, we'll take you.
So,
it was as easy as that. They sent me a camera, and I went out and did a pretend like Lost in the Woods video. And, I went out there and parked my snowmobile and was like, oh no, my snowmobile's broke. And then I proceeded to spend the night in the woods with only the stuff I had in the back of the snowmobile, and they loved it. So I was off to a boot camp, and at first there's 20 people at your boot camp, and they're going to pick the people that go on the show from that group. And mostly it was just all like psychological testing and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I almost failed because they were like, one of the questions, they're like, he says here that your neighbor is out to get you. And I was like, you don't know my neighbor. Like, he literally leaves nails in the driveway so they get stuck in my tire on purpose, And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense then. I mean, that does sound like he is out to get you.
It wasn't
then.
fictitious.
And I'm like, yeah, because that was the only one we were kind of questionable about, And so I pretty much passed that. And then it was a little bit of 2 nights outdoors where they were testing us and stuff. And we had to like show our trap abilities, and I got high marks on all of those things. And I think where I really excelled is because obviously the whole point is to be on a TV show. We were given a rabbit we weren't fed at all while we were out there. And then before it was over, they give us a rabbit that's alive. And I'm like, we do this at home all the time. I just like, as soon as I had it, everybody's like, what do we do with it? And I was like, what? And I was like, doing up my rabbit. I took and sauteed some, triple boiled some acorns and made an acorn paste for my rabbit. Ooh. And then, and so then they came around with the camera because they're filming all this stuff to use as B-roll in the show, but, as our backstory. And I go, today on Backwoods Iron Chef, we have a beautiful rabbit here, but we're making a paste, and an acorn paste, and we're going to put that in a slow roast that for 3 hours. And when mine was done, they opened it up, and everybody was like, oh, that smells so good. And they're still picking their hard rabbit out of their teeth because they just cooked it over the flames, and so they ate it right up. And they're like, everybody's like, oh, you so got a spot on the show when I left the boot camp. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, they called and they said, "You're in.
So
you want to go to?
So at the
go to Patagonia?
At the boot camp, you didn't find out if you were on the show at the boot camp?
No. They needed time to evaluate all their findings.
And did you guys know where you were going to be brought in the world, or when was that revealed to you?
I think they told us at the end of boot camp.
So you
can't
could
remember
prepare.
if they told us or it was a rumor. But when they called, they were like, how would you like to go to Patagonia? And that's when I remember it like really making any sense to me, you know.
Now, did that influence you? Had you picked your 10 items before boot camp or after you heard out where you were going?
No, at that point I had time. That was when you'd start picking your 10 items. I had thought of things, and I don't think it changed anything. I had a big journal that was just full of all my trap ideas, all this different stuff, and I kind of had already solidified it at that.
What were the 10 items?
My 10 items were. Wow, you asked me now. It's like 4 years later. So let's see if I can do it. We got shovel, slingshot, fishing line and hooks, paracord, pot with a pan lid, ferro rod, multi-tool, axe, sleeping bag, and missing something. Oh, a saw.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
So sleeping bag was counted as one of your 10 items?
I believe
Wow,
yes, because because you could also choose to have just like a bivy bag, or so there was like this different combinations of materials that you could have for sleeping, and so they each counted as an item. Gotcha. Yeah.
Now, did you know that because after watching the episode, it seemed like bamboo was so plentiful and you were able to use it for so many different purposes. Did you have any idea beforehand that was going to be available, or like?
We had seen it down in the valley below. When they first bring us in, they brought us to this ranch, and it was just full of wildlife.
Yep.
I know my slingshot was burning a hole in my back pocket. There was birds the size of chickens that were flying by in flocks of like 100,000. It would fly by for like 20 minutes. It just keep going. You were like, it was insane. And they'd land on the lawns, and they were just everywhere, and you get like 30 feet from them before they even startled. I was like, man, with a little blind, I'd sit there and just pop them off. And there was every 10 steps, you'd kick up a rabbit. I mean, it was so much stuff. You go down to the little pond, and a trout would like jump and flip and do tricks for you.
Utopia.
I was like, I could shoot these things with my slingshot too. But then they fly us up and in, and it's like nothing.
Nice try, just right?
Dead silence. Everything leaves the upper mountains during the wintertime. And they brought us in at the beginning of winter.
Yep.
Not even fall at this point. This is like late fall. The first day of winter was a couple days earlier, and it's like we're up there, and they, over the glaciers, and all of the game, the boar, everybody takes off, and they all head for the valleys where it's warm and lush still. Now this is Patagonia's temperate rainforest. So it would be the first month I was there, it was kind of cold and drizzly the whole time. And then the second month it was frozen. The ground was froze over, but it never froze down in far enough. Mm-hmm. And it was just cold and bitter cold the whole middle time. And then in the end, it would snow and then rain all day. So it would snow all night and then rain all day. And so I went out all the times it did snow too, and it was just not a single track. No rabbits, nowhere to set snares for rabbits. But I still did, because I heard the boar in the night once or twice, because not all of them had left the area. Mm-hmm. And there was trails like up in there that were just trounced down. So it's like it felt like you were in like this lush place that would have had all that stuff. But in the end, it was nothing but trout. Just the trout from the lake. Everything else was gone. And none of those beautiful little tiny midget deer that they have in Chile just over the hill that just looked, all these little animals that I knew were there, or during the good time of the year, the summer when it's warm and beautiful, none of them were around. So
you went late winter or beginning of winter down there is what, July or June or when
I ended in August.
Okay, yeah. So how did that affect, did that help you coming out of a Maine winter and then going down there and kind of going back into winter?
Well, it meant that I barely saw, I spent 2 years without ever seeing a summer.
Right.
Gosh.
So that wasn't exactly the most fun, but, but I did get back in August, and it was warm for a little bit before it turned into, cold. It started getting to the second mud season,
And then I'd say your crowning achievement was the self-propelled little paddle boat that got your fish hooks pretty far out into the water.
The Duck Hunter 3000.
Yeah, Fletch and I were pretty impressed with that one.
Yeah,
I still can't figure that out. I've watched some videos on it.
And the worst part is, I made a video on YouTube about it, and you can see little pictures that I have of the original that I managed to take, or the second version actually, because the second version was even better than the first version. I had actually one night crashed, and I lost the prop off the back, so I made a new propeller for it that wasn't a paddle wheel. It was actually a shaft, and it wound up. And I had this footage that was I was hoping to see on the show from a GoPro underwater, and the propeller, when you pull on the string, would fire up, and it would drive out there just like the other one. And you could see it like spinning and and dragging the hook, and fish come in, and like it was so amazing, and it was so clever, and it never ended up on the show. So
well, that brings up an interesting point too. Like, I mean, you were doing all the filming yourself. Were you surprised? But I mean, we're surprised on our show about what actually makes it into the episode. You know, they film so much, but it's the cameramen typically filming for us, where it's you're filming everything. Were you surprised about what they used or what they chose to focus on, or, you know?
I think the problem is that they had so many people, you know, that stayed out there so long.
Yeah, absolutely.
And stuff. And I filmed everything for 12. You know, they said the more you film, the more you'll be on TV. And so, like, I was like, cool, all right. Even if I don't win, I was like, at least I'll have filmed every bit of my adventure. And so I filmed for 12 hours a day and slept for 12 hours a day. And so it's like they had to sift through all of that.
So you really were filming 12 hours a day.
Yeah. And the thing is like, if you add up all the time that I was on TV, it was probably only, you know, like, I don't even know. It was maybe like 2 hours, if that, not even that, probably an hour and a half worth of my footage, like just cut up into little pieces. Because each episode you'd be on for like 10 to 11 minutes, maybe. You know, I was on more episodes than almost everybody else. Yeah. Like there was only one episode that I only had like a 2 minute, not even a 30-second clip on, you know? So and then even in my footage, there's still a lot of their own B-roll that they were shooting at the same time. So it would like have all this nature and trees thing, and then it would clip to me down by the water again. And it was like, that wasn't even my footage, you know? So it was like...
Makes you look good, though.
Yeah. So there was tons of stuff that I did that never ended up on the show. Like I made a trap a week while I was out there, a new trap. I had one that was a giant pit with a bamboo cover and a trigger system. So if a boar came up and he ate the fish guts that were on it, he would fall in. I had a giant pendulum trap that had with like spikes on it, and if a coyote was a coyote was coming in and he wouldn't go into it, he'd walk around it. I was going to eat that coyote, but he look up at the trap and he'd look at all the parts and pieces and he'd eat all the bait, but he wouldn't go in and eat the one piece of bait that would make the pendulum swing down and kill him. So it was pretty wild.
Pretty smart coyotes.
Do you have any?
They are.
Do you know the other people that are on the show these days?
We don't talk much anymore. We did for a little bit after the show first, you know, ended, and it was like, you know, we had quite the bond because of going through all this. We all went through it. It's like coming back from I like to think of it as like those old Vietnam vets, you know, like you don't know what we went through. You didn't have to climb through the trenches, you know, like we like the cameraman and everybody else can see it, but nobody knows what it's like to be that hungry at times and that sad for missing people and that isolated unless you've lived through it. And
do you look back at it as, you know, you won, but I mean, in a positive light, or do you see some of it like?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like, I mean, I'd like to do it again because they'll have a winners thing at some point.
Yeah.
You know? And so I look forward to that, but I'm not, I only do like a 30-day survival challenge on my YouTube channel. People are always like, oh, do 60 days here. I'm like, I'll never do more than 30 again, except for, you know, going out on a loan or something. They got to pay me big. Sure. It's got to be a big payoff because that's a lot of time to spend away. And now my girls are older. Back then they were, you know, young and like I didn't really know my daughter much, who was 1, and because she was just a little baby and always with mom. And you know, now they have little personalities, and I miss them just every time I go away for the weekend. So you know.
And so, speed up to present day now. You've got a YouTube page where you're doing a lot of. We've checked out a few of those. I think the most recent one we saw was the hovercraft.
I watched that. That was awesome.
That was fun.
The girls are having fun on that thing.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And so that's Makers and Mischief. And you were also on a TBS show.
Yeah, with Snoop Dogg.
With Snoop.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. Shooting the slingshot. That was fun. I'll probably go back, hopefully, if they do a season 2 and make a second go of it. See if I can't win this next one.
Nice.
But it was really neat. That was down to Georgia, and so I got to sneak away a little bit once and go fishing down there and hang out with all the other contestants who had all kinds of major skills and stuff. Like this another guy that James Gene, and he could. He could shoot stuff with a bow like better than I could shoot stuff out of the air with a slingshot. Wow. Like I can do really good static shots, and he can't hit stuff when it's sitting still. But man, the kid could throw 10 aspirin in the air and miss only one. Yeah, that's amazing.
Now, were you a big YouTuber before this show, or had you started your channel?
No. I mean, I had made like 2 videos, and I thought maybe when I came back they'd be like super viral, but they didn't do anything, and because nobody knew me from Adam and stuff. And so when I came back, I decided to use the $500,000 I wanted to buy all the stuff that I had out there on a loan and just start filming my own YouTube channel and just keep up with it because I enjoyed filming what I was doing, and I imagined that like all that footage would be such a great YouTube show, and like I still now to this day I wish like I could have traded that $500,000 maybe for all that footage because if I had turned it into an episode on YouTube or a series for like one video for every day that I was out there, I think I'd already be at like 50 million subs or something because it was crazy. I mean, it was the amount I tried to do creative stuff on YouTube, but the way when I was there just day in and day out doing so many creative things, I can't even manage to accomplish anything near that even during the 30-day survival challenges that I did. It's like but of course I was only there for 30 days, so I don't know. We still managed to do something different each day. But
what are some other places in the world where you'd like to go challenge yourself?
So I do really want to do Florida. I want a hammock above gators. I want to do Siberia.
Oh wow!
And I was pretty jealous when they did another alone one, and they did that for the guys, and they went to Mongolia. So that was always on my list, but not as much as South Africa.
Oh, cool.
So mainly South Africa, Siberia, and Florida right now are on the list.
We went down to South Africa for vacation, I think, last year.
Yeah.
Actually, today, my Facebook memory is a year ago. Today we got home.
Nice.
I would have a hard time. I would have a very hard time. I mean, I don't have a hard time surviving on my own anywhere, but South Africa seems like it would
We were
be
on safari for about
intense.
9 days, right near Kruger and stuff, and it was amazing. The animals were just amazing. Like, I wouldn't have the cajones to sleep out there at all.
No.
Yeah.
Nice.
So what is your next big challenge?
Probably not so much this year with all the coronavirus
Yeah.
and all that foolishness going on. We're like, not gonna go too far from home for too long, kind of thing. So I'm probably just gonna go visit other YouTubers and do small adventures with each of them and kind of thing. Like spend 3 days here and 3 days there. Can't really go back to Canada right now, stuff like that, because it's just like you got to quarantine for 2 weeks once you get there, and quarantine for, supposedly 2 weeks when you get home. Never mind if you could just get a test. It's a mess. So, since I have another channel as well with Ovens Rocky Mountain Bushcraft, and he was on alone with me.
Yeah.
It's like we want to collaborate and go do stuff, but it's like things are just so messed up. We can't really manage it right now. So I'll probably maybe I'll even do a little scout in Florida and go do a little thing down there, or visit some of the guys from the show. One of them that I competed against on that Go Big show, they put me up against a monster truck, and so he has a monster truck that he said if I came down I could drive it.
Oh,
and
cool.
I was thinking, I want to crush some stuff. I want to go to Home Depot and buy like all kinds of things that look fun to crush, and then go run them over. So
That would be fun.
That would be awesome.
So what? We love hearing stories of people like coming to Maine and falling in love with it. We love our state and we love portraying it. And what are some of your favorite things about Maine and favorite parts?
Well, when I came here, I came from Vermont, so everything's pretty similar except for the ocean, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so what made the deciding factor of staying forever was the ocean. And when I started out here building boats, it's like I was always building boats for just other people. I didn't really care about the sailing or any of that stuff, and I was just good at it, and I kind of got stuck with it, and I love to make stuff. So being here in Maine, I love just all the opportunities to make things from the stuff in the forest, and I just love the outdoors and the ocean, and Maine has just so many beautiful animals to eat that I fell in love with it. I love to fish, to get our the beautiful trout out of the rivers in the spring, and and fishing in the winter time. Ice fishing is just so much fun for me. I love it, and it's like I really loved getting into the lobstering the last couple of years. I got a small 5-trap license.
Oh, cool.
And there's just nothing like the smell of the sea when you're out there. And that was the one thing I did miss about leaving the boat building, is like we used to deliver all the boats in the spring and bring them back. And we'd just be driving out there on a calm morning, getting a sailboat, tying it up and bringing it back in. But just being out there and seeing the wildlife, and now doing it for myself, going out in there and catching the wildlife so I can eat it, it's a great thing.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, is there much of a survivalist scene in Maine? I mean, do you ever go out to islands and do anything survival on
I haven't
islands?
done an island thing yet. I was thinking about doing that this spring, like making a duct tape boat and escaping an island.
Right.
There's a nice one out in Rockport, and I don't know if it's too far out. I was going to try that halfway out there to the islands, and like a smaller one, and do a stranded on an island with a pile of sticks and some duct tape.
Right. There used to be a show on PBS called Voyage of the Mimi, and it was about a shipwrecked boat, and I think Ben Affleck was like the little kid in it.
Oh, was he?
I made the kid, but they had to distill their own water and stuff like that. It was pretty interesting.
A recreation.
Yeah, recreation of Voyage of the Mimi.
Hey, you make me want to go back and watch that again now. I haven't seen that in forever. That was good, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've got a few. Do you have any questions, Fletcher? We've got some fan questions.
I want to know, what was your reaction after, when you were watching yourself on alone?
Oh, yeah. That was fun. Because, you never know when your little piece is going to come up. And then, we watched it up because we didn't have TV out in the woods to watch it live. So we ended up watching it at Thresher's Tavern.
Yeah.
And so everybody was there with us, and more people kept coming as time went on, and I was still on the show. And it kind of became a thing till the final episode. Was quite the crowd in there.
Oh, that's awesome.
I bet.
And so everybody, it was special, because everybody, every time it came back onto me, it'd be like Fowler, and it'd start zooming in on where I was living, and everybody would be like, woo! So it was quite the experience. It wasn't even just watching it at home. It was neat, Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to know, when do you think your happiest moment was on all of your trip, or even getting there or leaving?
Oh, bro, I don't. Every time I cook a meal, maybe. It's every time I cook one, it's always seems like I did better than the one before. And then of course the leaving is always my happiest moment too, because it's going home. I have fun in everything I do, so it's hard to pin one of those moments down. The maybe special moment was the launching the Duck Hunter 3000 Mark II, when I was able to, with that propeller system, which never ended up on the show. And every time I finished a trap too was kind of a special moment, because I had more hope, because I had done something I set out to do. I felt like I had achieved a goal, and I felt a bit of, uplifted by that every time. So I was always more hopeful that I would catch more, or if I readjusted my fishing lines, I was always more hopeful, and that would carry me through to the next day, just always keeping up with that kind of stuff. And the same thing on just my short adventures. I'm always really excited once I set something new down.
Nice.
Nice. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I think Maggie has some fan questions.
So we put on our social media outlets that we having you on, and our fans put up some questions for us to ask you. Man, that must have been a long time from knowing that you won to getting back to your wife,
Yeah.
Just that time there. Because you won, now it's I want to get home.
Well, my now ex-wife, she showed up.
Yeah?
They brought her down, and so she was there, and so I got to see her, and so it was it was pretty cool. It was just it was over. and it was pretty final. I was pretty happy just to be anywhere, and they took us to a cabin and left us there, and I had to cook and stuff, and so it was pretty well, set up. Although my stomach did bother me like horribly, because out there I felt really good. Like I was like cleansed from the American diet, even though we ate really well.
Sure.
And I was just feel so good, and I come back and I started eating things, and they started bothering me, and just like it took a while for my body to readjust. You have refeeding syndrome where they found like when the Holocaust victims, if they gave them cake after because they were like so happy that they rescued them, they're like, here, have some cake. It actually killed them. Right. Because there's no fat insulating your organs from that much sugar. And they just went into cardiac arrest and things. So like the first time a week later I had sugar on the plane on the way back, I had like a brownie that came with the meal. And I was like, oh, this is so good. This is, and like any other time I'd be like, that's disgusting. Those little weird like brownies that come on an airplane. But like it was so good. My ankles swelled up like a pregnant woman, and I was like, I had to take my shoes off, and they were swollen for like 12 hours, and it was weird. I had a huge reaction to it. So
funny the side effects. Yeah. All right, Fletch has some questions for you.
Jeremy Peters asked, what did you do with your winnings from Alone?
We bought a house down the road from where I lived initially in Appleton, and regrid and stopped living off grid, and that's and then spent the money on YouTube so that I could get the cameras and become a full-time YouTuber.
Great investment.
Yeah. Sarah Reed asked, are there any items that you wish you had brought on your Alone journey as part as your 10 that you didn't?
Yeah, I mean, there was I almost never had any downtime, so I carved everything, and I would carve my story into my walking stick. And so that it was pretty cool, but I always wanted to have a journal. And they didn't want us to have journals or sketchbooks because they thought, like, we would sit there and waste time. But, like, I don't think they realize how much time you have on your hands, you know? Right. I'm like, I mean, obviously they would have lost some of the whittling footage, but I can't imagine, I could have written a whole book while I was there. And I did kind of, like, tell a whole book story in my head while I was there, and like made like a sci-fi book story up to entertain myself. Yeah. And it's like I could have written all that stuff down, and it would have been kind of nice to come back with something like that.
Cool. Jess Jacobs asked, fish was stable on your diet. How do you feel about eating fish now?
Oh, I still love fish. It was a year until I had another trout again, but not because I was adverse to it, but I was just busy doing other things, managing the whole new life of changing from living in the woods kind of thing.
Yeah. So. Well, that's awesome. That was the last question.
Yeah. I've got a million. What about batteries? Did you have to change out the batteries?
Well, when they come and checked us to make sure we were still sane every 2 weeks, they would bring us all new batteries and new cards to put in the camera to record all that stuff too, and they just swap it out, so we didn't have to charge it or anything. Now when I go out, I bring solar panels and stuff so that we have like a little solar panel on a power pack, so you can charge up the drone and all the cameras, and that way we can keep staying out there.
Nice. Now, is it just you, or do you have like a production team working with you?
We built a team now. It was just me at first, and then I hired one guy to help me work on the Reed boat and the Reed shelter, and he started doing the website stuff, and now it's up to 7 people, and we're building a big studio out in the barn so we can have we're gonna have like a bushcraft Letterman show, hopefully coming by this summer. Well, I'll be able to have guests on from other YouTube channels and or like TV shows when they win. And we'll have the desk all made out of sticks, and like all the decorations will be like all my stuff that I've built over the years out on adventures on the walls. And they can come on, and we'll have like a fire starting pit, so they can have a fire starting challenge, and then they'll have like a leaderboard. So if they come up and they can start a bow drill fire and see who starts it the fastest, and people from Naked and Afraid come for a visit, things like that. We'll have knife throwing competitions and fun little stuff, as well as testing out products and goofing around.
Fantastic. Look forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, great. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Zach. Cheers, buddy. Thank you. Here's your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Come see us at the Woodshed sometime.
Oh, yeah.
That's fun.
Cool.
All right.
Appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. I'm going ice fishing.
All right. Good luck.
Bye.
What'd you guys think? Like, that's your idol, Fletch.
Yeah.
Is that awesome?
Yeah.
Great answer, Fletcher.
Do you think that was his? Was he in the same mindset as when I met Fishman for the first time?
You could tell he was definitely paying attention, studying, had some really good questions.
He played it way cooler than I did.
And Fowler really had a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. That was fun. And our next segment is the Project Pointers, brought to you by Duravant. Please keep submitting your short 20-second videos to podcast at Maine Cabin Masters with your name, location. Show us your project, ask us some questions, and we'll try and answer it for you as best as possible. The more details we have, the better. So keep those Project Pointer questions and videos coming.
And we're still struggling for video. So ask your friends that don't even know about us if they have problems with their houses. Just, ask your world. Just ask your world. Like, do you want something answered? Is there something about your house that you've been dying to get answered?
Yeah.
And send it to us. You can even take credit for it.
And this video is brought to us by...
Do you want the name of the person?
Yes. Please.
All right. It was Ted and Mary Ellen Botsford. Hey, before you play it,
I'm going to play it while you talk.
So this video has
so much
no
work. They're from Central New York also.
audio.
1, 2, 3, go.
We have an issue with ice buildup directly over our front steps. It's at the junction where an addition was made to the original 1800s house in the 70s. About 5 years ago, we had the entire house re-roofed and at the same time increased the insulation in the attic. The interior walls of the house where the buildup is have also been insulated. We are at a loss as to why this happens. We figured maybe you would have some idea since your experience the same type of weather we do here in Central New York.
That is a big ice dam.
That is a big ice dam in a bad spot. And for those of you who do not live, who are lucky enough not to live in cold areas, an ice dam is when there's snow or ice on your roof, it melts underneath, and then as it travels down the roof, it freezes up on the eaves where there is no heat, and then the ice builds up, and it literally creates a dam, and you can have water pool up and back up under your shingles, and it can cause leaking.
It creates huge problems.
Yeah, and typically every winter there's a good stretch where people's houses have ice dams if they don't have metal roofs, or if even with metal roofs you can get ice dams, but where it will back up and they'll have leaking issues. So it's a constant struggle up here.
Even on a new roof, the force of water is one of the strongest forces, especially ice. It can go under brand new shingles. It can create a lot of problems.
Absolutely, and that's a lot of times that's why you see on houses and camps that are year-round, you'll do at least the first course of underlayment will be, ice and water shield or something, some sort of membrane versus just tar paper and a regular underlayment, because it helps give that added protection. So if the ice dam or water does get up under there, it doesn't penetrate into the subsurface.
The first thing I know you were probably thinking was insulating, but then she nailed that, new insulation.
Yeah.
It's got to be something with the venting, and maybe it's no proper vent or it's a hot roof and should be a cold roof or...
Yeah, if you just recently had an addition, if they vaulted the ceilings or if they converted attic space, whatever, you're still going to have, even with a lot of insulation, you're still going to have heat escaping that's going to melt on your roof. And that's a really big ice dam.
So a lot of times, and is that two gables coming together? A gable and an eave?
It looks like there's a valley right above the entryway steps. So, with the valley, all that water's running down. And
so I think here's my synopsis. Obviously, the valley, you don't proper vent a valley, right? So that, in theory, is a hot roof right there.
Sure.
So all that, and what we're saying now is proper vent, you staple it underneath your sheathing, and it takes cold air from your soffit up through underneath the sheathing and up over your insulation in your attic. And that's what they call a cold roof, correct?
Yep.
And it kind of cools it down. Well, that takes air from outside from your soffit up. Where now in a valley, your rafter bays, whatever, start there. You can't have proper vent, correct?
Right. They're blocked up. There's no way to get that air circulating.
So how do you deal with that? Gutters are a love-hate relationship. They're great, but then when they fill up with, I mean, we're dealing with it right now at HQ where
Right.
they're great at diverting water, keeping water away from your foundation, but in the wintertime they fill up with ice. They back up. You almost need to build a little
Cricket.
roof system above your steps. I know it's
Right. Yeah, because you don't want that. That's dangerous.
and that's a lot of ice building up on your stairs.
And it's getting direct sunlight, so you know it's not the north side.
Yep.
That's scary, too. It's getting that much. It looks like it's getting pretty good sun.
Yeah. Like Ryan said, if there's any way to get in there to either put in some better ventilation within the insulation, if possible. If not, you could try gutters to try and divert that water. Heat tape is all,
Yep.
if you put a section of heat tape or electrical wire that, produces heat and it's thermostatically controlled within the wire so that in the wintertime when it gets cold, it will heat up and you won't get that ice buildup, or a small
Roof system.
over your steps just to try and keep the...
I think you'd want that for protection.
Yeah, I think you'd want that anyways just to keep the water from pouring down on your head.
What about a metal valley? Would that do anything?
Metal valleys would help,
Shoot the water out.
but it wouldn't necessarily help with... I mean, you could... Sometimes you see them extend out.
I think you need some heat tape.
Heat tape.
The exterior stuff you put right on the roof.
Yep, you can go right in that little valley, whatever it is. But whatever you do, we feel your pain. We deal with this on a regular basis every winter.
And you can do something perfectly to the T, and it's just, the way to code, and it just could be some weird fact, the way everything comes together, it just doesn't work.
Yep, absolutely. Good luck.
Hopefully we helped you a little bit. Thank you for that project pointer. And
Yeah.
send more.
Send more. Keep them coming. We'll try and answer them best we can.
And if not, you'll see us have fun trying to answer them.
All right. Do we have any...
These questions will be easy to answer.
Yeah. Do we have any non-video questions?
Yep.
Great.
Why do you ask me that every time? Every time I say yes.
I'm just trying to lead you into it so you're ready for us. Just trying to be helpful.
Maybe someday there won't be. They'll always
Yes.
be.
All right.
They'll always be. Fletch, you might be able to help us with these questions.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yep.
Glenn Darling says, I would like some info on a good composting toilet. I need one and would like to make my choice once and done.
Okay.
Once and done. Oh, the old composting toilet. My mechanic just sent me that text the other day. I was told to get a composting toilet. What do you think of them?
So there's a few different options on the market.
Chase is an expert.
I used to have one in our house before we upgraded our septic system. It all depends on usage, whether or not you have electricity for venting, inline venting, and also storage size. The most economical, quickest, simplest way is to get a self-contained unit that sits right in the, it's almost like a throne.
It looks like a real throne.
Yeah, you sit up, it stores everything right in the room. If you have power or access to solar or something, you get a small inline vent that helps pull the air through it, that circulates the air, that helps dry everything out, helps keep a negative pressure to keep the smells going up the chimney. The next step up would be a system, and that Sunmar is one that we typically use that's a self-contained in-house. There's also ones that are, you can almost have, a toilet base, and then it can go into a location. That's the other point, too.
Below it.
That
That requires a lot of pre-planning with framing.
Yeah, and you have to make sure you have the clearance underneath to fit the tank. But it's the same thing, if you have access to electricity, you can have a vent in there. Big thing on that one, too, is whether or not it's seasonal. Composting toilets can have some use in the winter times, but for the most part, if it's freezing temperatures, they're not going to function properly and they'll just fill up quicker. And then I think the top of the line models would be like a Clivis is one brand system where it's, such a large system that's self-contained, you'll never have an issue with it, and it can take as much usage as necessary.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because you are the expert. Are there some preconceived misconceptions about these toilets? I mean, can you not pee in them?
You can pee in them.
You can pee.
You can. Yes. It's all usage. You know, if you can pee outside, pee out.
But you would recommend if the men go pee outside and then use the toilet for number 2.
Yeah. Yes. Well, you have to make sure you have a drain in place for all your liquids, because the venting and the normal air. Fletcher's rolling his eyes. Maggie's rolling her eyes. Jen's rolling her eyes.
This is important stuff when you get older kids.
I could talk about composting toilets all day.
And they do. There is a maintenance in them, correct?
Yes, there's maintenance in any systems. It's it's not as simple as an outhouse where you can just leave it, set it, forget it. You have to add either peat or something after you go, just to keep the system clean. And like you said, if there's too much liquid, you need an overflow drain, because you're really relying on the venting and the air circulation to help dry everything out to get the composting happening quicker.
If you really need compost, it's just as easy to go to the Agway and something to get it.
Yes, my grandparents had they built a toilet based off of Clivis design in our camp up to Clearwater.
Oh, really?
Yep.
In the bathroom that's there?
Yep. And it was down in the basement, and it never functioned properly.
Oh, God.
And it had so much usage because it was them, it was the kids, it was all the grandkids. And my grandmother used to empty it, and I remember she'd scoop it out and go running up into the woods with it, and it was not composted by any means at that point. But you just have to be ready to prepare to deal with, the nasty side of things. But there are small self-contained that can go in the house. There's larger ones that can go underneath, or there's, probably the top of the line model that's fully self-contained.
There you go.
And that's that on composting toilets.
He is an expert.
Next
Fletch, you got anything to add?
That was the longest someone was talking about composting toilets ever.
I'd be impressed if he was my dad.
If Ellie's listening, I don't know if she's old enough to remember the Clivis in our camp, but I'm sure Ashley does.
The Clivis. I'll ask when I get home.
All right. One last question. This one is from Nathan Whitehouse. So you touched on this in the project pointers, but with all of the rot caused by water on these wooden structures, why don't you use guttering?
I think guttering's a personal choice.
Well, it's an accessory. By the time we get there, we are probably over the budget, or we have to find places to spend the money a little bit better. But it's like floors. Like when you do build a new house, a flooring contractor told me, he's like, yeah, I'm the last guy in there, so I'm always the last guy to get paid, or people are always skimping on floors, like if trying, and a gutter, it's just like that. It's an accessory. It's one of the last things there, and we don't really spend enough time at the camp to see the water patterns and whatnot.
That's true. At my house, I've got, on our back door, just a piece of gutter. It's like just a half circle that you can lift off and take out, and that's perfect, So
just enough so you guys don't get drenched.
Yeah, it works, but then in the wintertime, you can just take it off very easily, because that's the big thing, too, is in the wintertime, gutters can be ripped off from sliding snow so easily, and that is definitely something we don't, unless a camp owner specifically asked for it, we don't install gutters.
No, because they require a lot of maintenance, too.
Yep.
They get filled with leaves and pine needles.
Yep.
Do you clean our gutter?
I do.
I didn't know that.
Do you even know where our gutter is?
I do.
Yeah, I do.
So when he says get your mind out of the gutter, you wonder what it's doing way up there, right?
Oh, you're hilarious.
Cha-ching.
Excellent. Well, those were great questions. Keep the questions coming. Podcast at mainecabinmasters.com.
Always good questions. And we're starting to work on a little series for our YouTube channel where I will do a video answer to a lot of these questions that come in a lot, so it's there. So we tell a lot of people go watch the podcast, but it'll be on our YouTube channel as well in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And as always, we've got great stuff in our shop. Things are looking up. We've got new products coming in daily, and we've got a new order of the Maine shellware.
Oh, this stuff is cool.
Coasters, trays, and cutting boards. They take and use mussel shells, clam shells, lobster shells, crush them up, and epoxy them. Very similar to what Ashley did for the tiles at the Baker camp.
Yeah.
So these are available
really
at
nice stuff.
Maine Cabin Masters. facebook.com/
All the guys are still talking about the knives. They love those knives. And we're running low, and those are a one-time thing. So come in.
Yeah,
They're
but we
sharp.
do have a new version coming too.
Oh, do ya?
Yep. So those are pretty beefy knives.
Yeah, Fletch Adams collection.
Yeah. All right. So last week's trivia question.
Okay. It was, what town has the same name as a city in Serbia?
Oh, I forgot to look on a map.
That's cheating.
I'm gonna say
maybe not.
Richmond.
I'm going to
Richmond has a big
say
Russian. Richmond has a big Russian influence.
Roger, no one can hear you.
What's your guess?
I don't know.
You got.
That city's right next to 90th
I'm going to say
Street.
Damariscotta, Serbia.
Roger, give us a town.
I guess I agree with Dad. Damariscotta.
All right.
Oh,
Freeport. All right, interesting. The answer is Belgrade.
Belgrade.
It's actually like the capital, or like one of the
Serbia?
biggest cities.
Is Belgrade Croatia, Yugoslavia?
Yugoslavia? Was formerly known as Yugoslavia?
Yeah.
What's cool is Maine has a couple dozen towns after European places.
Is there another Belgrade?
Probably.
Germany?
Huh. I didn't know that that's where it was.
All right.
I get smarter every time we have a podcast. And this week's question.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. All right. Go.
What were you gonna do?
I've got something to show Ryan.
Oh, what is
But
it?
no, do your trivia question.
Okay.
Well, that was
Which
fun.
one of the major Kennebec bridges was swept away down the river in the Great Flood of 1936?
Ooh, the Great Flood of 36. I just saw some cool videos of that. Don't say anything.
I only know the 87 flood.
You weren't around in 36.
No. I remember what bridge was swept away in the 87 flood.
Well, that's not the
The
question.
one right in Fairbanks up to Rangeley.
Oh, that one was?
Yep. All right.
All right.
So if you know the answer.
Podcast at MaineCabinMasters.com.
Yeah.
First person to give us in our inbox correct answer will win. And we will reveal that next week during the podcast.
Yeah. So I've been cleaning out Higgins Street. And
do you got?
it's unbelievable. So Higgins Street is the house that my grandparents owned. My father, his brothers and sisters grew up in. I've owned it. I bought it probably 14, 50 years ago. But now it's being sold, and the closing is Friday. So I've had to clean it out. Generations worth of stuff.
And Ashley and I lived there for a while.
Yep. Ashley and Ryan lived there. Everybody's lived there. So I've been finding all this cool stuff. And so I found this. It is a
Drill bit? What is that?
It's a hole saw, but you can set. I've never seen anything like it. It's a hole saw where you can set the diameter within the actual tool. An adjustable hole saw. Have you ever seen one of those before?
No, we got to try it. I don't know if.
I don't know if I'd ever.
Look at that.
But I don't know when it's from.
Oh, Ryan's breaking it already.
But there's probably a reason
You take it apart. You set the set screws will adjust your 3 blades.
And you can sharpen those.
Yeah. All the treasures I found.
There's probably a reason you don't see any of these. There's probably broken wrists everywhere. But that's pretty cool, though.
Yep. I'd never seen anything like that, so I figured I'd bring it in to show
Put that in your
everybody.
little trinket desk.
Yep.
All right, I'll put it away before I hurt myself.
But, yeah.
The things you'll find.
Yep. Wanted to share that.
Cool. Well, what a cool episode.
Yeah.
Funny how things tied in. He talked about Serbia.
Oh, yeah.
That's Serbia. Then gutters in our video and gutters. So it's all coming intertwined in the Cabin Master world.
It is. But, yeah, thanks for joining us again. And we always want to thank our sponsors, Nelma, Hero Media Arts, Hammond Lumber Company, and from the Woodshed, we'll be talking to you.